Excalibur, Durandal. Every culture has legends of mythical weapons. But this story is different because this weapon actually exists. Designated as a national treasure of Japan, it stands among the finest masterpieces of metallurgy. Records state this blade was so sharp, it sliced through 6 human corpses in a single stroke. But that terrifying sharpness was turned against a far deadlier target, a monster. The katana's name is Dojigiri Yasutsuna. That means it cuts down the doji. Here, doji is short for Shuten doji, the king of the Oni. This isn't just any sword, it is an actual monster slayer. Today, we decode Japan's most famous monster hunt, from the historical outlaws hiding behind the mask to the secret logic of their design and their survival in modern pop culture. By the end of this video, history will never look the same, and neither will Japanese entertainment. The year is around 1000 AD, the Aeon period. In the capital of Kyoto, high-born princesses began to vanish into thin air, spirited away. The emperor called upon his own myoji. Think of them as state-sponsored sorcerers. Their profile of the culprit?
It is Shuten doji, a drunken Oni living in a fortress on Mount Oe.
The emperor deployed his deadliest asset, Minamoto no Raiko. He was a renowned veteran commander and living legend famous for silencing the supernatural. But Raiko didn't charge in screaming like a typical action hero. He and his squad concealed their weapons under the robes of harmless monks. They made their way through the rugged mountains and reached the monster's lair. To infiltrate the stronghold, they simply asked for a night's lodging. Against a monster, there is no fair fight. There is only the mission. The Oni Lord was suspicious. To test these monks, he served them fresh meat, human flesh, torn from a victim. What did the samurai do? They didn't hesitate. They ate it. They praised the flavor. In return, the samurai offered a gift: alcohol. They did whatever it took to win the Oni's trust. During the banquet, the Oni got comfortable and confessed,
"We used to live on the holy mount here, but the monks evicted us, so we came here."
It turns out even monsters represented gentrification problem. The samurai kept pouring, but this wasn't normal alcohol. It was divine sake, shinben kidokushu, given by the gods. To a human, it was medicine. To a demon, it was a poison that stripped them of their power. Once the monsters passed out, the samurai dropped the act. They donned their armor and attacked the sleeping targets. This wasn't a duel, it was a unilateral slaughter. Raiko, the commander, drew the Dojigiri and severed the ringleader's head in a single stroke. Legend says the severed head flew into the air, jaws snapping, and bit down on Raiko's helmet, a final act of pure spite. After the battle, the missing princesses were found, but one of them was missing an arm and a leg. She had been the meal the samurai had unknowingly eaten earlier. When they tried to rescue her, she refused.
"If my parents saw me now, it would break their hearts. Please give them some of my hair as a keepsake."
It is a reminder of the 1,000-year gap in ethics between us and them. The samurai had one final job: receipts. To get paid, a samurai had to present the ringleader's head to his lord. They tried to carry the head back to Kyoto, but at the city limits, legend says it suddenly became too heavy to move. So they built a grave right there. Today, the site is known as the Shrine of Oni, Kubizuka Daimyojin. Even now, visitors leave bottles of sake at the grave. In Japan, prayers are offered to the dead, whether they were heroes or monsters in life. It's a unique spiritual system. Legends call them monsters, but were they really Oni? They were likely outlaws, indigenous groups, or rebels who resisted the central government. The demon-slaying story may have been propaganda to justify a political purge. In the later Edo period, this monster story became a pop culture hit. The focus shifted to the sequels. A famous episode involves Raiko's lieutenant, Watanabe no Tsuna. Tsuna meets a beautiful woman alone on a bridge. Being a gentleman, he offers her a ride on his horse. Suddenly, she transforms into a monster, grabs his head, and flies into the sky. Tsuna instantly draws his sword, Higekiri, the shaver. Why such a name? Because it was so sharp that when criminals were beheaded, the blade passed through the neck and even the beard without resistance. It's hard to grasp the ancient definition of cool. Using the legendary katana, Tsuna cuts off the monster's arm. The Onmyoji warned him,
The Oni will come to reclaim the arm. Do not open your door to anyone for 7 days.
A few days later, Tsuna's elderly aunt arrives.
I only want to see the monster's arm,
She says,
please.
Tsuna was a great warrior, but he was a pushover for family. He opens the box. In an instant, the ant transforms into the Oni, snatches the arm, and disappears into the sky. Classic mistake. Throughout these stories, Oni are called doji. The word usually means child. Why give such a name to a terrifying monster? The answer is hair. At the time, adult men were expected to tie up their hair and wear hats. Only children wore their hair loose. In Kyoto, a group believed to be their descendants, the Yasei-doji, actually existed. They traditionally wore their hair loose and carried palanquins for emperors. So if you traveled back to this time, people would call you a doji and might even see you as a monster. The most typical Oni image is found in the fairy tale Momotaro. A boy who was born from a peach teams up with a pheasant, a monkey, and a dog to raid the Oni's island. Why these specific animals? It's not random. It's feng shui logic. In the Chinese zodiac, the northeast direction is called the Demon's Gate, Kimon. It is the source of bad luck. This direction sits exactly between the ox and the tiger. This is the design secret. This is why Oni are always depicted with ox horns and wearing tiger skin cloths. They are a composite of the unlucky direction. Now, look at the opposite side of the compass. Opposite the Demon's Gate are 3 animals: monkey, bird, and dog. Momotaro's team wasn't a petting zoo, it was a tactically calculated counter-curse. But wait, the opposing animal, the sheep, is missing. Why were birds and dogs prioritized over sheep? Why was it ignored? The answer is simple economics. Japan tried to raise sheep, but the humid climate wasn't right. You can't put an animal in a children's story if the children have no idea what it is. Wool and cheese were ultra-luxury imports that almost no one had seen. Centuries later, one man saw this gap and tried to initiate trade. That man was the first white samurai, William Adams. In Ukiyo-e, Oni flee from soybeans. Mame means beans, but it also echoes a phrase meaning destroy evil. Even today, during the February festival Setsubun, people throw roasted soybeans to drive Oni away, along with sardine heads and holly leaves. It's the Oni's version of garlic to a vampire. Oni are not simply enemies to be defeated. Their image has changed over time. In Japan's northern region, Namahage began as visiting deities. They later took the form of Oni, going door to door asking, "Are there any bad children?" Families greet them formally, offer sake, and send them away. This ritual uses fear as a form of moral education. In traditional art, the wind god and thunder god are also common subjects. They are nature deities depicted with horns and powerful bodies. These images helped link Oni imagery to the thunder god's drums. In the modern fairy tale, The Red Ogre Who Cried, to help the red Oni befriend humans, the blue Oni pretends to be evil. After driving his friend away, the red Oni realizes the sacrifice and weeps. The story shows how Oni shifted from objects of fear to tragic, sympathetic neighbors. Today, the Oni has evolved from a monster of fear into a global icon of pop culture. Demon Slayer. This series depicts samurai monster hunters in Japan's westernization period. Its Oni prey on humans and follow the classic villain role. One even carries the thunder god drums within its body. Vampire traits are added, weakness to sunlight, and the ability to multiply by sharing blood. Delicious in Dungeon. This is a story of a fantasy cooking adventure. It treats Oni as one of many humanoid races alongside elves and dwarves. These Oni retain traditional traits: horns, large bodies, and great strength. Urusei Yatsura. This romantic comedy features humans and aliens. Its heroine is an alien girl with horns and a tiger-striped bikini. Influenced by the thunder god, she can float and use electricity. Released in the 1970s, it greatly shaped global cosplay culture. Power Rangers, 2022. This series was inspired by the fairy tale Momotaro. The team includes Momotaro, the monkey, the pheasant, the dog, and the Oni. Notably, the Oni appears not as an enemy, but as a heroic female ranger. The Oni still live on in our culture. They are just one example of the many yokai that continue to shape it. In the next episode, Samurai Monster Guide, the Hyaki Yagyo Scroll, a step-by-step tour of every monster in the night parade.
Help motivate us to make more videos by liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching!